host, Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with my good friend Josh, and Josh has been on my show several times. We've been talking about money matters and how to get out of debt, what to do with insurance, buying a home. But I asked him to come back so we could talk about a very special topic that's dear and near to my heart, and I think to his too. Since he has figured out how to save money and get out of debt, what do you teach your kids? How do you get them onto the same path that you're on? So before we start talking about that, I want Josh to introduce himself to my viewers, and let's talk a little bit about Dave Ramsey before we start on our topic.
Sure. My name's Josh Siegel. I have 3 kids, a 2-year-old, a 7-year-old, and an 8-year-old. We started doing leading a financial peace class some time ago. We had seen that we weren't making it from month to month, and I was like, we got to find a solution to this. We make too much money to not be making it. And, you know, as the general rule of thumb, with most Americans, we were spending what we were making, and in a lot of cases, we were spending more than we were making and going into debt. So we got on the bandwagon. We started a financial peace group at our church, and we've had a lot of people go through it and be able to get financial freedom and find financial peace. And so that's where we're at too.
So now that you have this financial peace, and you have 3 kids.
I have 3 kids.
How do you teach them about money matters, and how do you start teaching them? And I guess I need to start with, if you have a child that's a young child between like 3 and 5, how do you teach them about money?
Well, I have a 2-year-old, and so we've already started. You want to start as early as you can, teach your kids. So he knows that if he can clean up his toys and get $1 to clean up his toys. He knows that he can clean up his room and get $1 to clean up his room. And so at that young age, he's associating work with money. You know, Dave Ramsey says, and I agree with him, that, you know, there's too many people in the world that think that they need a handout and don't want to work for money.
This is true.
So I want to teach my kids early, as young as I can, that work equals money. So even my 2-year-old, and he's excited about it. I mean, he gets his $1 and he's like, yeah, I'm going to go get a candy. He understands that when he works, he gets money, and then money can buy things. Or he can buy a toy or whatever. So even when they're really young, you know, you start out and you teach them this. I mean, if he can play on my tablet, then he can clean up a little bit, you know?
This is true. So do you put his money into a piggy bank, a jar where he can see it growing,
so
or in the bank?
At this young age, we put it in a little jar, but he usually spends it. We let him spend it. So what we do with our other kids and with him coming up, when he's like 3 to 5, we'll fill a jar up. And so the kids will start sticking money in it. They'll think about something they want, and then we can take them to like Toys R Us or something, and they can go and they can pick out a toy with all their money. Now, the thing you want to be careful about is, you know, chipping in money. You want them to understand there's just life lessons that you want to teach. All these teachable moments with children, especially around money, is, you know, they go out and they pick a toy and they count their money and they don't have enough money. Oh no, what do you do? Well,
so what do you do?
We explain that they're going to have to pick a different toy, or we're going to put it back, we'll go home, do more chores, and then they can get more money and buy the thing that they really want. So it's tough it's tough, right? It's tough to be in that spot. Now, you don't want to go overboard. I mean, they talked about, Dave Ramsey, or actually Dave's daughter, talked about an incident where some lady came up to her and she was like, I did just what you told me to do. We got to the store, my 10-year-old son, he saved $300 for a game system. But he forgot about tax. So I told him he had to put it back. And she's like, what? Your 10-year-old saved $300? You pay the tax.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reward.
So don't go crazy with it. But you want them to understand these life lessons. I mean, even I try to teach my kids about the tax, right? I'm like, okay, so you found a candy for $1, and you have $1 for candy that you wanted to spend on it. But there's tax. So you have to have $1 in North Carolina, $1.08 for that candy. So I try to teach them every life lesson I can. And as they're growing up, I'm trying to lead by example. You know, I want my kids to see that, you know, we go to the grocery store, we use cash for the grocery store, and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, where our budget for a week is $140. You pull out $140 every week for groceries, so that they understand, like, money and that it's actually doing something and there's actually value to it and what we're doing with money. We like to show them our giving patterns. We like to see that we give to our church, and so that they understand that. And so from 3 to 5 years old, we just, you just fill a cookie jar or whatever. But as after that, I mean, we talk about, envelope system too for even those kids, and so they have a savings envelope and a giving envelope and a spending envelope.
So how would you introduce the envelope concept to a child?
So
how would they understand it?
Well, after 5, I would say would be a good one. So up until 5, you do the cookie jar thing or whatever, something they can see through, so they can see their money growing and get excited about it. And then once they're after 5, they can start splitting their money up and say, okay, this is what I'm giving, and I give like mommy and daddy, and I save like mommy and daddy, and then this is what I can spend.
Do you think it's a good idea for kids, like the preteens, to be there when you're sitting down paying bills so they can see that you work, you have to pay for your house, you have to pay for power, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I've had that discussion with my kids. So my wife and I, every month, on purpose, on paper, sit down and make a budget. And they know that mommy and daddy are making a budget. They come, not my 2-year-old, but my 7-year-old, 8-year-old are like, what are you guys doing? And I explain, like, this is what we're saving this month. This is what we're giving this month. This is how much each of the utilities cost. They get to see it on paper, what we do. Because your kids learn from you. I mean, more is caught than taught. I think that's the saying, right? So when they see you doing the good things in your life, when you're, doing good things in your life, like managing your finances or you're giving or you're giving back to the community, they catch that. They see what you're doing. So actions speak louder than words, especially to children. So yeah, we go through that and we talk about what we spend our money on and how much daddy makes, and like, wow, that's a lot of money, and then this is where it's all going, and then yeah.
So whenever your kids are, let's see, not 3 to 5, but 6 to 9 or 10, you give them the envelope. Do they have a savings account with the bank? Do you teach them about banking at that age?
You can open a savings account for your kids. It's kind of cool to see them, like, I haven't done it yet, but to see them see their little account growing and growing and growing and making progress. That's pretty neat. So yeah, I would say you could open a savings account.
So do you give your kids allowances, or is it payment for their work that they're doing? How do you treat their allowances?
We call it commissions.
Oh, commissions.
Commissions. Yes, you don't get something for nothing. So you have to do work around the house, and we have a chart that we have that has chores on it and how much you get paid for those chores, and they check things off the chart. Of course, they still have things that they have to do just because they're a seagull, just because they live in the house. Right now, they have to clear off the kitchen table after dinner.
And they're not paid for that, right?
They're not paid for that. That's just something they do because they're part of the family. But yeah, they get paid to clean the rooms, even though I know some people are like, oh, this is their own mess. They should have, but we pay them to clean up their rooms and bathrooms and clean out the stairs and hallway, that kind of thing, and gather their laundry up and things like that. So they had pick up, dog mess in the backyard, and they get paid for those kind of things. And they know that if they don't work, they don't get money.
And that's how life is, pretty much. If you don't work, you don't get money. With that being said, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the teenage years and the college age years and what they need to learn about money in order to move forward. Okay? Cool.
Mommy. I love kids. I'm responsible, loving, nurturing. Ow! Just don't break anything! Play nice! No, don't touch that!
Aren't you going to do something?
I could use a little compassion. Stop! Being a parent's a lot of work.
You don't have to be perfect
Where's Mommy?
to be a perfect parent.
Here I am.
My life is full of statistics. Thing is, I could have dropped out of school and become one myself, but I didn't because I had people that believed in me. Here's another statistic. 7,000 students drop out every school day. That's one every 26 seconds. It's time that students know that we believe in them.
Inspire a student and share your message of support at boostup.org.
I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson, here with Josh, and we were talking about kids and money. And before we went on break, we said we're going to talk about teenagers. Now, you know teenagers think money grows on trees, don't they? Mm-hmm. So what does Dave Ramsey say about how to educate your teens about money?
So he's come up with this interesting concept. Now, obviously, you need to instill values as they're young. But you know, what he did with his kids, and maybe I plan on doing this with my kids. He lets them manage their portion of the budget.
What?
So yeah, so their food and everything, and you get a bank account.
Okay.
And you balance your checkbook. So it's better. I mean, I get it. Like, so it's better to teach children or teenagers and let them make mistakes while they're still with you than making mistakes once they move out and they don't have any support. Right?
Okay, that makes sense.
So he talks about that. So you get your teenager their own bank account, and they manage the money that you would normally spend on them. So they spend all their money, and they're out of money, then they're out of luck. So once the money's gone, the money's gone.
So what happens?
Then they have to suffer through that, right? So you teach them how to balance a checkbook or a bank statement. You teach them how to do all that stuff and work their way through, and they get cash out, and they follow the same system that you're following. You're just supplying them with that cash that you would normally budget on them.
Do you take them through the same baby steps that you shared with us?
Sure, of course. Again, kids learn by example. Like I like to take my kids yard sailing, not because I love yard sailing, but I like to teach them how to bargain with people or barter with people. You know, so I know it says $5 on the tag, and I know you have $5, but see if you can bargain with them and see if you can get it for less. So just ways that you train your kids up, and so they learn. From me, like I said, we create a budget. They see my budget every month, or they see it, maybe not every month, but they ask what we're doing, and they see us doing it every month. So they know when they become a teenager, hey, this is the way to manage money. So when you get to a teenager, you get in their own bank account, and you show them how to go line by line and balance their stuff and live on a budget and spend cash and do that kind of thing.
You know, as a teenager, around the years of 15, 16, we want a what?
A car.
A car. Now, how do you manage that with a teenager? Teach them how to save for that car.
So what Dave did, what I plan to do, is do kind of he calls it a 401 Dave. I don't know what I'll call it because my name doesn't work that way. But, he told his kids that, that he would have a match on whatever they saved. So because when you have ownership of something, like there's a lot of people that just get cars and they don't take good care of them, but when you have saved and you've worked really hard for something and you buy it, then it means something to you. So he does his 401. So if you say his kids, in this example, his kids saved $8,000 and he matched the $8,000, so his kid was able to buy a $16,000 car, but it changed her perspective on the whole car thing, right? She didn't want people eating in the back seat of her car, and if they spilled something in the back seat of her car, she freaked out about it. She didn't just be like, oh, whatever, because she saved $8,000 for that car. So so the car thing, yeah. So now my parents, they made me buy a car outright, right? So there's a whole spectrum of things. Some parents can't do that, but you figure out your own plan. But make sure that your kids have some skin in the game. Like, don't just go buy a really expensive car. And that's another thing Dave talks about. I mean, you don't buy your kids a really crazy expensive car. You buy them a little beater car, right?
I
to get
agree.
around in because they're not experienced in driving a car, right? So Dave tells a story about when he first got his car, and he got his license, and he took his dad's truck out, and his friends called him, was like, hey, let's go to the Pizza Hut. That was the days you could sit down in Pizza Hut and eat, and And so he's all happy, and he's like feeling adulting, and he's driving his dad's truck, and he parks, and they go in and they eat pizza, and then he gets out and he backs up to it into this guy's brand new Corvette. First day he gets his license.
Oh my God.
So kids just aren't experienced driving when they first get it. So don't go buy them some really expensive car for them to tear up.
That's a good point. So, during the teenage years, kids are thinking about college. How do you prepare, or what does Dave Ramsey say you should do to prepare your kids for the costs of going to college?
So again, real quickly, I'll go over the baby steps. Baby step 1 is $1,000. Baby step 2 is paying off your debt. Baby step 3 is 3 to 6 months of your expenses saved. Baby step 4 is retirement. Baby step 5 is saving for your kids' college. So if you can and you're there, make sure that you're saving for your retirement. You're going to retire unless you die on the job. So make sure you're doing all those things in order first. But then you want to start saving for your kids' college. A great way to save for your kids' college is in a 529 plan, a lot of these state-sponsored plans. And you want to save as much as you can for your kids' college as early as you can, because the more you can invest in the kids' college fund, the more it'll grow over time.
So you're saving for your child's college, not your child saving for college.
Right. So so you want to invest in these 529 plans as early as you possibly can. You want to be able to do that for your kids because you don't want to go into debt. Because I believe the next big bubble that's going to burst is the college loan bubble. A lot of people are coming out of college and not able to get jobs and have these loans, and it's an epidemic really in our country. So do whatever you can to help your kids out and get them a foot off the ground. So 529 plan, you can invest. Dave says, make sure you understand your investments. Now, I would also say that, you can there's a lot of, like, how long till the kids get into college, and there's a lot of age-based ranges in this 529 plans that you can save in. Make sure that you're using somebody that's low cost, 529, so you're not getting high fees. Talk to whoever you're using for your investments, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, whatever, for that 529 plan.
I have a question about these college savings plans, and you may or may not know the answer to it. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. What if you save millions of dollars for one of your kids to go to college, and they decide, oh, I'm not going to go to school, I'm going to get a trade, and what happens to that money?
Well, I don't imagine you'd save millions of dollars for your kids' college, but who knows how much it's going to cost in the future at the rate it's going, right? But yeah, so if your kid decides not to go to college, remember, all this money you're putting in 529 is pre-tax. So you're going to, 1, get taxed on it, and 2, you're going to take a penalty because you've grown all this money in this account for kids' school, and then you'll get penalized on the back end in the state, and the federal government will charge you a penalty. You get the money, you don't just lose the money, but you get a penalty. Now, the other option that you have in that is if you have another child. So what you want to do when you're saving a 529 plan, it's your plan, and your kid is the beneficiary. And so what you can do then is you can change the beneficiary. So say your oldest child decides, I don't want to go to school. You can then change the beneficiary to your other child. Or if you're feeling really generous and really nice, you can change it to some other loved one that you have that's going to college.
Oh, I see. So you don't just lose the money.
So you won't just lose the money in any case. You'll just have to pay the penalty. Or you can use it for yourself to go back and get further education. But yeah, so you can change the beneficiary, who's going to get the money. But if your kids decide they're not going to go to school, then you have to find something else to do with it.
Something else to do with it. With that being said, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the years in college and money.
Okay.
Every book is an adventure waiting to come to life. Visit new worlds. Encounter new friends. And discover the power of reading. Go to read.gov to read A Princess of Mars, the first novel to feature John Carter. A new world awaits. Read.
Welcome back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with Josh. And Josh, before we went on break, we talked about kids going to college.
Yes.
You know, way back 100 years ago when I was in college, I got a bunch of credit cards. Yes, I did not know what I was doing. I also got a car, did not know what I was doing. What advice would you give a young person going off to college as far as managing their money is concerned?
All right, so a lot of things. One other thing I want to hit is go which college you're picking. So for one, you want to go to college and you want to have a plan when you go to college. So you don't just want to go and just get whatever degree and la-di-da, because it's very expensive, and you need to make sure that's clear to your children that we're going to have a plan and we're going to stick to our plan. This is not just to go party and socialize. This is school. Two is consider an in-state college. They're a lot cheaper, and there's not really great reason unless you're on some kind of scholarship to go out of state. And out of state schools you're going to pay a premium for, and you're going to pay even more of a premium for going to private college that's out of state or in state. It's okay if that's the kind of education you want and you have the money saved for it and you're doing it. Just understand that don't go take out $100,000 worth of loans to go to a private college just for the experience or just to go to a private college. But when you get to college, you've made that decision, you get to college. One, we're going to teach our kids, hopefully, over all this time, we're going to teach them to stay away from debt. We got to hate debt. We got to teach them to hate debt. When I was college, I had a college credit card, and what happens is you get attached to that college credit card. A lot of people don't even throw those away. Like, they've still 30, 40 years old, still got their college credit card. Now, the laws have changed. The laws have changed some, and in most states, kids can't get a credit card unless their parents are part of it, and so I think it's 21 in most states now. And then at 21, they can start getting a credit card. Now, a lot of parents are like, well, that's nice. If my kids were young, I could have been saving for them, but they're not young anymore, and we got to do something. And so again, if all possible, you can stay away from student loans. So you could even consider community college. Most community colleges, it's much cheaper, half or even a quarter of the price of your standard state school, and they provide great education, and most of the credits transfer over. The other option that they have is they can work. I know that sounds crazy, right? Crazy notion, but the statistics show that kids that work through college end up graduating with better grades. They learn.
That makes sense.
They learn time management skills. They learn professional skills, and they're more marketable when they come out of college.
So what advice would you give a person that wants to go to college but they can't afford it and they do have to get student loans?
Well, again, get as little student loans as you can. Look for financial aid where you can. Look for scholars. There's a lot of scholarships out there, and when you really hustle and look hard, you may find a scholarship that's right for you, and you're going to have to work at it. I mean, there's a lot of these scholarships require essays and so forth, but if you work really hard, it'll save you a lot on the back end because, again, people are just drowning coming out of college right now with debt and not able to pay it off, and their job's just not cutting it, or they're not having jobs and they're got student loan payments.
You know, I want to ask you another question. It's a question that you're going to have to think about. If you could tell your younger self something that would help you get out of debt or be further along being out of debt than you are right now, what would you tell your younger self?
My younger self, I would tell to don't spend everything you make. So I think that's a problem in our society generally, and I wish everybody could hear this, that the people that are millionaires, the majority of people that are millionaires in this country aren't millionaires because they're some actress or some sports player. They're people that live on less than they make. Some of them significantly less than they make. They've found comfort in not things. They found comfort in life. They live minimalistic. So they're able to save and save and save and save and save and invest and invest and invest. If I could tell myself something, it was like, don't spend everything you had. You don't really need 3 cars. At one time I did have 3 cars.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like 3 new cars with payments. So, yeah, well, 2 new cars and a motorcycle. And, you know, my wife worked and I worked at the time, and we made good money, and we spent what we made. And we found a house, and we're like, that we can afford that. I mean, that's the big thing, right? I can afford that, or I can afford that, or I can afford that payment, really, is what you're saying. I can afford that payment so long as I have a job, hopefully.
Right.
So if I was to tell my younger self something, is don't finance all that. You don't need all that stuff to make you happy. You think you want that. It's going to fill a hole it's going to make you feel good for a little bit of time. But things don't buy happiness. Money can buy fun, but it doesn't buy happiness. And so every time, and it just, you get dopamine when you buy something, in your body. So it gives you excitement. And, if I was to go back, I'd just be like, just avoid that stuff. Live as minimal as you can, save as much as you can, and then enjoy your life as early as you can. I hope that I'm on a trajectory right now to retire when I'm 53, and travel with my wife or do whatever I want, but be able to retire when I'm 53. And, if I would have started earlier, I could have done it earlier.
So what do you teach your kids? Are you teaching your kids that same concept of that they don't need everything that they see in the store?
Yeah. Ironically, I just had that conversation with him yesterday.
Which one, the 8-year-old?
Well, the 7 and 8-year-old. Usually our conversations are both of them at the same time. But like, hey guys, things don't make you happy. It was today because we were watching a show on Netflix that was about minimalism, and they were like, what's the show about? And we're like, it's really about that you don't need lots of stuff to make you happy. You can live with less stuff. I mean, look how much of your stuff just kind of sits around, and like all the toys you have, and you don't play with. You don't really need those toys. I said, so we could buy less toys, or we could buy things that you like a lot more and keep things you like a lot more and get rid of all the extra stuff in your life. And we tend to spend money on that kind of stuff.
That's really interesting. And I want to thank you again for coming on my show. Every time you come here, I learn something new. Even on this show about teaching kids about money and young adults about money. You have got to come back, because I really enjoy these conversations that we have.
Yeah, thank you.
And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching my show at Daddy U here on Public Access 21 every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Oh my gosh.